Mhm.
Okay, right. Yeah. So, do you think you've got any input on this particular subject of demonic possession or something of this nature to do with religions and demons and psychology?
Yeah, definitely. As Andrea said, like when you study Hinduistic things and when you somehow immerse yourself in this spirituality, I have to say it is really strong. Also, the light side of it, and also there is dark side to it. Somehow you can sense it in this when when you immerse yourself in Hinduism, and
Right.
especially when you see all the imagery and all the statues, you can really feel this Kundalini sexual energy in it, and I think this is the thing that really can somehow sometimes mess people's minds up,
Right.
mess
So,
or give them something. Yeah,
to what extent have you studied Hinduism then, with these things like um, the sexual facet of it, Kama Sutra, and those sort of
so
things.
yeah. I mean, I didn't study a lot of it. I just saw a lot of sculptures and symbolism. Yeah, I really love symbolism. Generally in spirituality and religion, and this Hinduistic symbolism really, even if you don't know anything about it, about the meaning of these symbols, you can somehow really feel their energy.
Right.
Me
So
too.
when you see the symbolism of the demons and all different sorts of things like that, uh, you get a feeling about that.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I was more immersed in like in Krishna consciousness. Movement. Also, I know a lot of people who are in this movement and everything. And like for a few times I went with them as I played the guitar. I was going to their concerts. Those were like really a concerts. Where people would sit on the floor and listen to the musicians. And I joined the musicians and I was improvising on their music and everything. And this is really, really something really, really bonding and really spiritually cleanizing.
Okay.
This
So
music.
have you ever had what you could consider a demonic attachment?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yes.
So
I
we'll
would.
we'll 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 speak about that then shortly. Andre, have you ever had a demonic attachment?
Demonic attacks. I
So,
could
or both.
probably, yeah, possibly, yeah.
Right. And
And the attachment, yeah, that's possible as well. Yeah, seems.
do you know about mine, Mario?
About yours?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, depends on what exactly, but yeah, I know you were, you know, saying about some things.
Which ones?
I don't know about some occasions where you had like, you know, some things taking over you. I cannot remember exactly now. I mean, definitely about one woman that you were talking about in America that
Right.
you.
Okay. So
Uh,
the thing is, you know, what I've wrote about in my book, as Andre knows, because he's read it two times, and you're on the third read, aren't you, Andre?
Actually, I'm on the second read. Yeah,
On the second read.
yeah. So we are on chapter 9. We are in the middle of chapter 19 right now.
Right, and so I speak about things in a lot of depth, and we have to ask the questions, and the difference between someone that investigates this stuff for real and those that don't is oceans apart. When people, they watch maybe a movie about some demons, and then they go, "Oh yeah, I know about demons." When they've read a comic book about something, or they've listened to an Aleister Crowley documentary, and then they think they know about demons. You know about demons when you've had one possess you. You know about demons when you've been so terrified that you would take your life. You know you have an attachment when you feel abject evil within you. And if you haven't felt those things and experienced those things, you don't know evil and you don't know demons. And so these are the sort of people that I have to listen to. I can't listen to people that think they may have remembered something or this, that, and the other. If we're going to talk about things, we have to get deep into these things. We have to
Yeah.
really fucking delve into our psyche. And the vast majority of people are terrified to do this. Because what you was alluding to earlier, if you delve into this stuff too deep, you may get a demonic possession if you're not careful, if you're not strong enough. So, do you want to take the lead on this, Andre?
Yes.
The reason why we're speaking about this is because you brought something up in our last conversation. And doubtless you wouldn't know. Because you operating in different worlds, but if you have cast your consciousness over the world, then you would know that there's a movement, and it's a religious, spiritual battle. It is actually evil versus good, and there's many people feeling it and speaking about it and telling stories about it, and there's plenty of exhibits of evil going on in the world. So it's a thing, and when you learn about it, when you really take it seriously and you get involved in it, you know that it is a fucking thing, and humankind has been speaking about this forever.
Yes, and it has become more like people have slipped up the curtain a little bit. Modern people have not looked at this so much as they probably seem to do in this moment in time, it seems. Because I mean,
What's that again?
yeah, because people tend to peoples that haven't believed in this kind of stuff before gets like a glimpse of it. Yeah,
Yes.
and
Now, obviously, in the medieval periods, there was a lot of this stuff going on. There's a whole bunch of witch burning all over Europe.
yeah,
And people really did believe in the spiritual warfare and demons and all the rest of it. And they were fighting the holy wars against evil. And it was all about that. It was all about the spiritual warfare.
yes,
But then when we've come into more modern times, that facet of it hasn't been paramount. And yet, you can still see all of these Greek gods and goddesses and Roman gods and goddesses and mythological goddesses' names on warheads, nuclear warheads, and Exocet missiles, and all these sort of things. Nimrod, for instance, is a name we're all familiar with. And so when you look into warfare and these warheads and these terror machines, you ask a question: why are they all named after these gods and goddesses of war? What's actually going on there?
yeah.
Seems like something has still remained from the ancient times.
Well,
And
there are people on this earth, Mario, that have continued with it, and they're using these powers. And there's no doubt about it. They are evil powers manipulating the whole world. And, I've been investigating this for a long, long time. And, you look into the nefarious powers of the powers that be. There's lots of them, so we don't need to mention any names. Certain secret secret organizations with symbolisms of serpents and devils and demons and all different sorts of things like that. And so this stuff has been going on forever, and it is going on. And more people in the local media and the media at the time, whether it's the legacy media or whether it's alternative media, they're starting to really opine that there's something fucking going on here, because the coincidences are just too many. And now people are having to face the fact that we are actually maybe entering the end times, when there's spiritual warfare going on. And anyone that's really, really religious, well, they'll go, yeah, duh. It's the fucking revelation. We're coming into that.
Yes, it's it's the same forces that were there before, but they are the most active in the last hour, one could say. And also, many people will be fooled also. And there is also this aspect where they always talk about the witch burning as something absolutely bad, but it wasn't absolutely bad. It was often what do you call them? The women who were helping giving birth to the child. Midwives who tried to do kind of chemical abortions and so on the women, and that's why they got burned on the stakes, so to speak. So kind of Middle Ages feminists, one could say.
Well, doubtless that wasn't the only reason, these women were getting burnt. I mean, Bloody Mary, one of the daughters of Henry VIII, she burnt thousands of them. And throughout the Spanish Inquisition, many hundreds of thousands of people were put to death in all different sorts of hideous ways, because they were supposed to be demonic and worshipped other gods and all different sorts of stuff.
Yeah, many people who were not were kind of innocent were getting through it as well. But the thing is, there was people that were not innocent also.
Yeah.
And also this top hat, which is depicted with,
Witch's
that
hat.
that comes actually from Kabbalah and like Jewish esotericism. So that's interesting.
Yeah. But let's come down to the essence of it, which is, I think, sexual energy. And the very thing that is giving a rise to a human. Isn't this the biggest paradox of them all?
Well, there's a lot to do with sexual energy, because in all of these modern cults, sex and pedophilia is a very, very integral part of it.
No.
And the sacrifices of babies and drinking their blood, and the whole missing children thing all over the world with the paedophile rings and the child trafficking. Yes, it most certainly is about sex. Freud used to reckon that all human energy was libidinal. It was sexual energy. And so there's, I've been watching this series on Netflix. I've just finished it. It's called Monster. And it's about a guy in America called Ed Gein. And he
Texas
killed
Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, well, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was inspired by Ed Gein. Ed Gein was about, he started his murders, I think, in about 1940. and he was living in the outback of America somewhere with his mother, and one of these sort of in a huge big farmhouse. And he was a schizophrenic, and he butchered, hundreds of women, and made dresses out of their skin, and cut the pussy off, and wore the tits, and he cut the faces off and wore the faces when he dressed up in women's underwear and things like that. And then Ted Bundy, was at that particular time, and you've got all these different sorts of people with Jeffrey Dahmer, Fred West in Fred and Rosemary West in Britain. All these people, they were killing people, and then they were performing necromancy. They were having sex with dead bodies. And so there's certainly a sexual connotation to evil.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder, I watched the movie now again. I usually don't watch movies, but in that movie there was a guy that talked about that those monsters, like within tales and stories and so on, which is evil, that comes from, like, they are suppressed sexual urges and so on. Yeah. And they don't have a sex life, so they get angry. They said that in that movie.
Yes, well, this Ed Gein series, that was about that pretty well, because this man, he was a man about 40 years old when he turned bad, living with his mother, super oppressive and, overly Christian, and sex is a bad thing and masturbation is a bad thing, and her son should never masturbate and never go with a woman, they're evil, and all this different sorts of stuff. Well, over the years, then that sexual thing, that Freudian libido, became so powerful. It came out in all different sorts of perversions, with him dressing up as his mother in her underwear and killing her, and digging her up and all these different sorts of things. He used to dig dead bodies up and then skin them and, wear the parts and things like that. So most certainly sex is a major player in all this evil. And when we, look at Aleister Crowley, the prolific sex orgies and sex with goats and, all these different sorts of things.
And excrement as well.
I mean, yeah, Ted Bundy and all these sorts of people, it's kind of like, what's the worst thing a human being could do? Killing someone and cutting them up just isn't horrific enough. You've got to masturbate in their eye socket, or you've got to eat their arsehole from the outside in, and I don't know. You've just got to do something really, really sick, and then that's it, man. Way to go! That now we're really talking evil. Because if you leave the sex out of it, nothing really doesn't appear really to be that evil, does it?
Yeah. There is a very interesting thing I start to think about in connection to this. E. Michael Jones, I know I listened to a podcast with E. Michael Jones a long time ago. He had written a book that had the name Sexual Libido Dominandi in Power, or something like that. And that book is about, he talked about that horror movies is actually like the end product of pornography. Pornography leads to horror movies, so to speak. That's also an interesting point in that manner, because he pointed at certain things within horror movies where it actually is a sexual act, but it's disguised with violence, so to speak.
Right.
So you don't see that it as sexual when you look at it necessarily.
Yeah.
And there's also this British author and movie creator Clive Barker, who made Hellraiser 1 and 2. And if you look at those movies as a teenager, you might not see that much of sexual connotations as an adult mind would get looking at it. Because in this movie, it's about the barriers between pleasure and pain, so to speak. And Clive Barker had experimented very much with hooks and BDSM and stuff like that. So he actually have a sadomasochistic esoteric framework to it all within the two movies as well, you know.
Right.
And it's fantastic movies. Even if I'm not a horror lover, I like European horror movies at certain times, you know. I think there's authenticity to it, and as you can hear, there is something with the sexual aspect within all this horror stuff as well.
That is it, you know. Pleasure and pain. Pleasure and pain. What this sexual energy brings up.
Yeah, because if you
tell us more, Mario, you seem to be holding something back there. Come on, reveal all your secrets. Open that wardrobe behind you. You got all books and shit hanging up in there, man. Big black leather boots and everything.
Yeah,
possibly. Yeah.
Because if you break the boundaries of the skin and all that kind of stuff, you can always take it a notch further. That is why you kind of have boundaries with stuff, you know. And all those people who get crazy like Ed Gein and so on, he has suppressed it so much. So when he then when he lets the boundaries down, it just comes everything at once instead, you know. Because even within like sadomasochism, there's boundaries, you know. You shouldn't injure people in a way which they are not like okay with, so to speak. But if you also experiment, as I have tried a long time ago to cut myself just to see how it feels like, and you can feel like a certain endorphin coming from it when you experiment with it. It is understandable that for some people that could be addictive, you know, because I wanted to experiment with it in a evocative way, and it was probably by now 9 years ago that I tried it out, 9 or 8 years ago, and so on. So it's interesting, all those darker aspects as well. People often just draw to the very light-hearted stuff and so on, but there's something to be said for all that as well, yeah, because it's all a part of the human experience.
Yeah, so when we look at angels and demons, how invested are you guys in them? Do you have any knowledge of them? Do you have an adherence to them, or do you just think it's mythology and it's just semantics? And what really is your take on evil? Is it actually a manifestation outside of the human being, or is it a manifestation within the human being?
I think it is both. I think it is both, but I think there's parts which is outside manifestation, and certain parts are within. But the outside manifestation is like how the demons try to control the human being, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
that is the outside manifestation. But the thing is, I talked with this about my brother and the Orthodox Christian view on this demon thing is that they can't read your thought, but they can be very clever, so to speak. Trying to find the human being out, how it works, and so on. Yeah.
And how do they manipulate you or enter you or get you to work with them?
It could be through movies. It could be through music. It could be through enticement of the sexual urges. It could be all this kind of stuff. It could be throwing a certain thing your way. It could be many different things, probably more than just those things that I said here as well. Probably through people not being aware of reading in symbolism and things clearly and get fooled by it and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I think
also,
I think
yeah.
their main goal is to fill up a human being with this energy, with the evil energy.
Yes, and so
This is the main.
throughout many years, hundreds, thousands of years, people have used symbolism, which represents evil, and they use this symbolism sometimes surreptitiously, sometimes unconsciously, sometimes overtly, and these evil symbols, they are penetrating our psyche. And when people go and watch these horror movies, then you've got all that symbolism very overt, and you've got the sinister music, and everything about it is sinister. And so people are being hypnotized, they're being brainwashed, they're having this
Yeah.
energy permeate their consciousness and their very being. And so it was said that in America, after people found out about Ed Gein, that many sick people started to do things because they were influenced by him. And so they wanted to do some of that stuff because it had entered their psyche, you see. And so they'd seen the symbolism of the butchered bodies. They'd seen the symbolisms of the manufactured skin parts. He made lamps and he made chairs with the skins with nipples on and all different sorts of things like that. And so when people see these things, it then can trigger maybe some deep repressed evil within them, some deep sexual repression that then that's the key which enables it to come flooding out, because all these sickos, of course, they were all seriously perverted sexually, and all their murders were sexual murders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the end, we are all suppressed sexually, you know, and this is the paradox. Just so, what's the question is how suppressed they are, so they were willing to do this stuff.
Well, yeah, there must be other factors in it. There has to be some sort of mental imbalance, and there has to be a propensity and a desire to cause pain and inflict on
Yeah.
people. You know, and this probably stems from childhoods which were very abusive and
Yeah.
fractured the child's psyche and then sent it off on a different trajectory, you know?
Yeah, he had the seed already there for it to
Yeah,
be like that. Yeah.
yeah.
So that's it. It's yeah. Thinking about all this, Did you watch those three movies that I told
I
you?
haven't as yet. No.
No, because this was three horror movies, but they really have a beautiful aesthetic to it. It's like a European movie tradition.
Right.
Okay,
It's
I will ask. I remember now which movie I wanted to tell you about. Did you ever hear for Holy Mountain?
No.
no.
Never. Really? Then I advise you highly to at least see it for for 1 minute.
Okay,
This is the most psychedelic thing I have ever seen.
really?
Yeah,
I will write it down here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Holy Mountain, but it's from 1960s, something like this, or 70s. I think 60s.
Okay, so let's keep on track
Okay.
then
Yeah.
with this theme about evil. So tell us then, Mario, when you encountered uh, real evil, not just looking at it, hearing about it, when you experienced it.
Yeah. Well, there are many moments in one's life when you experience certain frights. For example, when you are walking as it happened a few times for me when I was walking alone in a forest and the night was falling slowly and I suddenly realized I was lost. And things similar to this. There is certain fright to it, but the real thing when I continuously experienced evil and some kind of demonic energy really taking up possession, that was the time when I was disappointed by a woman. When I was disappointed by not creating a bond with the woman that I wanted to create it with.
So what I don't see where the evil is in either of those scenarios.
Well, the thing is, yeah, that's a tricky thing. In the first one, there is not so much, I was talking about things when you get fright.
Well, that's just fear. That's fear. That's self-induced because you get insecure.
Yeah,
And you start
that's
to be
true.
afraid about getting lost, and maybe
Yeah,
have to sleep in a forest all night long, and maybe what's in the forest and all this sort of thing. But that's not evil. I'm talking about real evil.
yeah, yeah, that's what I'm telling you. When I encountered a certain woman, let's say, that is the most, that's where it got the most far,
What
the most
she was
further.
evil? She was evil, or what?
I don't know. Let's say, this sexual energy that came with being attracted to this woman and everything that it created, a certain problems about it. Because when you get in a connection with a woman, then you want to, leave impression, get in contact, and with a certain woman, or maybe there was few of them. I mean, we all have like certain women that we really, wanted to make impression to them and to really get in contact to them. And if we get refused or it gets somehow hard, then we get a bit nervous. But for a certain woman, it really triggered for me like a lot of this, let's say being obsessed with her or being obsessed what she represented to me. But in the end, I realized that this obsession was actually kind of a
So what did you
demon or
feel
even.
then? Did you feel a deep fear? Did you feel you was losing control over your senses? What actually was the
Yeah,
fear connotation? What was the evil?
yeah. I felt like I want to get in contact with her no matter what, and even if I, no matter what, even if I, send her all sorts of messages or even naked pictures or what, I just in those moments when this feeling would take over, I just did not care. whatever happens, I just had the urge to do it, to get in contact with her.
That sounds like obsession.
Yeah, and when you would do it, in that moment, that would feel good, but afterwards, that would be the worst feeling ever.
That sounds like guilt. So you got obsession and got guilt, but
Yeah.
yeah, we okay, Andre. Give us another example then.
Another example of evil. I mean, I done bad stuff. I mean, evil stuff. Total evil is hard to find like that right through and through. Maybe not hard, but this infatuation with the woman. I've seen my father try to get a hold of my mother and smack her to the floor when I was 12 years old. And then I smacked the guitar in his head and it started to bleed and he fell to the ground. Then he raised from the ground and she ran into the toilet and my father took a knife, tried to get into the toilet, But is that evil? It's kind of the craziness that can come from being drunk and at the same time having to do with the women. So
what about when, if ever, evil? You felt the presence of evil within you.
Yes, then there's a kind of split, because I still have the empathy, but I still have this, I must do this because this force is driving me to do this, So I still have the empathy, but I have the principle of acting out violently. That I must take things to the extreme. If you put it here, I put it here. If you're worse, then I need to be worse. Situations like that. And that can be very dangerous. It's like about me before. Like I stabbed my stepfather and so on with a 30-centimeter knife blade and so on. But that was also to protect my mother. But I had said to myself beforehand, if anything like that happens again, I need to set an end towards it. So I stood with the knife like that, looked into just through the window, and then I went to the right and right into the room where my stepfather was. I liked him. I didn't kill him or anything. He was about to die because it got hair through and hair through, So it was like puncturing the big vein that goes through the body. So he was going between life and death and so on. That split our family when I was 18 years old. But it was also to protect my mother, and so on. And I never had any hate towards him, I just did what I felt that I needed to do.
So
Hold on. I will just go for a toilet. So,
Okay.
it will not take long.
Okay.
Yes. So, but still we are not coming towards the absolute nasty evil, because it is still in the facet of protection and so on,
Yeah.
And also prior to this happening, of course, there was some very negative entities in the house which I lived with my mother and my father and my brother in until I was 12 years old also, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and while I don't remember too much of the ins and outs of it, it was always a present within within that house. And of course, before I stabbed my stepfather, I used to get into pretty brutal fights with my brother as well, you know. And because I have seen my father use knife to get through the door and get my mother one time, I did the same with my brother, you know, tried to break up the door with the knife
Mm.
more than one time. One time I gave him a punch in the head and it went very bad, but lucky he still survived because he fell into like the window where the hard stuff is, and he broke like a little bit of the skull hair back, but he survived and he didn't get injured more than they needed to glue and stitch a little bit,
Yeah.
but that was all extreme aggression. I could be so angry that I got red on my arms and so on when I was younger. I could get extremely dangerous,
Yeah. So, if we're going to be looking at real evil, then it's kind of like it's a premeditated thing, isn't it? It's when you set out to do evil. For instance, someone like Ted Bundy, the serial killer, picking pretty young girls up hitchhiking or college campus and, asking them to do stuff and then smashing them in the head with, an iron bar or a log and then having sex with them when they're dead. I mean, we're
Yeah,
really talking evil now, aren't we?
yeah. It's really something that is unthinkable to any sane human being, so to speak.
Yeah. But what could be thinkable to a human being if you were so angry with someone that you decided to plot a way to kill them? Then that would be evil if you were thinking in your mind how you could kill someone. You was conspiring to kill someone. You see,
Even
this conspiracy, it holds the same sentence in most courts of law as actually doing the crime, because the only difference is that you didn't do it. You didn't find the opportunity to do it, but you conspired to do it. And so the evil was already played out. And this is why in the Bible it says, even if you think about committing adultery, you have done it. You know?
so- but when they do it so for the price of the freedom. They do it even for the price of their freedom. And this is the thing. When you kill someone, you are ready to do it, even though you know you will lose your freedom. You will be behind the bars all your life or something. But something is really something really sees this still as something valuable to do.
Yes, so
Just-
the power of evil then, which takes control of the mind and the body and perpetrates a crime without thinking straight, without thinking about the next 30 years of your life, or maybe even you're going to get the death penalty. So therefore, you could say then, the absolute rage is a state of evil. It's an uncontrollable rage, and so therefore it must be possession, and so
well,
possession by evil forces, and so. It is that thing that I'm trying to extract from you. It's that feeling of that evil. Have you ever known that?
Yeah, I have known that. Yeah.
Yeah. Through me, it has come most clear via sexual energy. Again, I say. Also, these moments where the rage is present, but via sexual energy, you can somehow really see it. See its
So,
essence.
are you saying then, in not so many words, that when your desire was to such an extent, you were driven by the desire for sex, that the person wasn't willing, and so then you felt rage, or you felt murderous, or what was it exactly?
I would say that, uh, yeah, it was rage, and afterwards, it was just like sexual excitement, big sexual excitement. So, like
So the
this,
sexual excitement, what that was evil?
yeah, I could feel evil, arising from it, or evil being at the root of it, of this
Right.
sexual excitement. Yeah.
So it must have been then thinking about the sexual act without the consensus of the other party.
No,
Um,
no, no. It's not about that. It's just about the certain woman that I liked her so much. It's not that. You know, I don't think it was actually because she didn't want it, but just because it's just because you like this woman.
yeah,
Because
But it doesn't sound like an evil thing, yeah?
yeah, but
I'm failing to see what you're misconstruing as evil. It sounds like that if you were a Catholic, a devout Catholic, and you had these feelings for someone other than your wife, or maybe you weren't married and you had these feelings, then you'd have such an amount of guilt that you would misconstrue that guilt with the evil, the pursuance of evil. But it doesn't sound to me like you're saying that. It sounds
okay,
like the act of sex, you're saying, is evil in and of itself.
okay, I will go a bit more deeper in it. The thing is, as I said, I was like, I'm original like a Catholic, and like through my childhood and everything, I was always somehow my surroundings were really religious. Really religious, and really kind of morally, inclined to look at everything in this way. And somehow, because of this, I was always a bit more, in my subconscious was always this thing that knowing this thing is moral, this thing is not, this thing is right, this thing is wrong. Even though, as I was developing in life, I got to know many people and many views on life, but still, this thing was persistent in me. And when I met a woman, and that was a dancer, she was dancing all kinds of dances, and also a pole dance. This is when this thing got triggered in me.
Right. So you was feeling very, very lustful towards a pole dancer, then a
Yes,
professional dancer,
yes,
and that's immorally wrong. As far as you're concerned, and so you was feeling very, very drawn to committing a sexual act which was against your original indoctrination of faith.
yes, just like that, fully said.
You see, Andre, I would make a pretty good detective, because I said initially, I said it seems to me like there's a religious connotation there. Because you are perverting sex, because that's what the evil of religion does. It perverts sex. And so there's much to be said about the evil of the Catholic Church instilling this guilt in people so they can't feel free to experience their own body. That is a fucking evil. And when people, even when they do have sex under marriage, which is lawful, being a Catholic, you still feel defiled and guilty about it because you've been told it's fucking wrong all of your life.
That's interesting because that was detective work there, yeah. Because it came into a narrative which I'm not very familiar with being in it. I have never been into Christianity or anything like that. I mean, I can appreciate certain aspects of it and so on and so forth, but I haven't grown up in a Christian household. We were not that atheist, but we were not religious either. If you asked my mother and father about God, my mother would probably say that, yeah, God existed, but not more than that. We never ever went to church or anything like that.
Yeah, so no religious sexual connotations as far as you're concerned, nor me. But I know Croatia is a very Catholic country. And so it sounds like Mario grew up in a family which was very oriented towards Catholicism, and he came under, the yoke of that, and as a young mind, was perverted by it. And this is the danger of religions. This is why we can see the danger of Islam, because in their books it's absolutely written, death to the infidel. All must come under the sword if they don't bow down to Allah, and there's no ifs and buts about it. That is the law. And that was always the law whilst Muhammad was reigning, around those realms. And, evil. You see, you've got these religions, and they've got this cloak of goodness, which they hide under. But as soon as you stop undoing the buttons of that cloak and peeping what's underneath that fucking cloak, then you're going to see abject evil in all of these religions, in Judaism, in Islam. I wouldn't say Christianity, but Christianity, it binds you to a standard of morals and a variety of living which isn't free, and so in that sense it's evil. We shouldn't be bound by certain moral standards. Who fucking invented those? It wasn't God.
I think it's also that the human being is fallible, and that is the thing. So all the Orthodox Christians and so on that I have met, I generally they don't try to get you over to their side or anything, and they are they do their thing, and they seem to have a healthy mindset towards their religion, it seems. But it also differs with the Orthodox and Catholic in the way that in Orthodox Church, at least the priests are allowed to marry and get children.
Yes, and so therefore they release their sexual energy, because if you aren't allowed to marry, i.e., in Catholicism, you're not allowed to marry in Catholicism, are you?
Yeah, you are not.
No, yes. So therefore, then, this is why these Catholic priests are the biggest bummers on the planet. They're always sexual abusing. They're boarding students, because when people get sent to Catholic school, you've got this fucking, oh goodness me, you've got these children captured and they can't be telling their parents. They're not going to go home to their parents. They're not going anywhere for months on end. And by the time they've been inaugurated into this, sodomy, then they're absolutely too embarrassed to even utter a word of it. And, I've looked into this long and hard because years ago I wanted to know how the world leaders had all been captured, by what force had captured them, and it's the evil of sex. So in the boarding schools, mostly Catholic, then all of the kids that were boarding, then they would be abused, if not first and foremost by the priests, but by the other boys. Because by the time the other boys were in their second and third year, well, they'd already been bummed for a couple of years. And so there's a hierarchical system. There's some sort of sick hierarchical system whereby the boys who were bummed, they would bum the new boys. And they would put them under their jurisdiction. That's just how it is in these institutions.
Yeah, I would think that it's not like everybody who goes through the boarding schools that they get their ass penetrated.
Well, yeah, but Andre, it's very, very, very poignant here not to just assume, not just to say I wouldn't think. I mean, I've
I
investigated.
talked with an American guy who went to boarding school, and he said, "Thank God that I didn't get bummed by
Yeah, yeah,
because he managed it at least, yeah."
Yes, well, I suppose if you are strong enough in character, then you can avoid that, or if you're physically strong enough. But when three boys, older boys, grab hold of you and pin you down, I've heard stories of this from people it happened to, and I've listened to people give testimonials about Catholic priests actually dressing up as Satan and bumming the young boys. And they are told explicitly that if they ever should breathe a word of it, then they will be going straight to hell. And it's very, very dark, very, very sick indeed.
Yeah.
But
But I can't get my head around why another man will penetrate the anus of another man.
Well,
do you get a boner when they sell fucking man body like that? I can't get my head around that. Yeah.
yeah, no, I can't get my head around it either because I'm not that way inclined, and it's always been a mystery to me. Thank God. But sodomy was, of course, evil as far as the Old Testament was concerned. And this is why God fired down fire and brimstone upon Sodom and Gomorrah, and that's where sodomy comes from that town of Sodom. And so in this day and age, being gay isn't considered an evil by the secular facet of society, at least. I mean, Islam, it's death to all homosexuals with no concessions, and probably within some Christian religions, it's still frowned upon greatly.
Yeah, and it shall be because of course. Okay, if you are a normal closet homosexual, okay, that's okay. But if you go around the city with pink and blue hair and piercings in your face and look like a demons, I would think like they are also not very nice people, yeah, because they want to butcher your kids and all that kind of stuff, and I think that's evil, yeah.
Well, if there's any blue-haired homosexuals with piercings watching this video, I hope you're not trying to butcher our children. That's all I can say. Anyway, look, we've got 4 minutes to this one. It's going to end. Do you want to do one more?
Yeah.
Okay, well, when we come back, I want to ask you guys what you think about having acceptance, what attachment means to you, and do you think the pursuance of enlightenment, as far as the Buddha was concerned, and certain spiritual beings, is an absurdity? And I'll tell you why I'm asking that question when we come back. So we'll end this one here. I'll send you a new link, and then we'll do it again. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
See you in a bit.
Alrighty then.
Yes.